Hello there. Let's get excited for the Unit 7 project. Today, we will start creating a website that retrieves user input, stores that user input in variables, manipulates that data using operators, and displays the output on the page using append. I know this seems like a lot. We're going to have 2 days for this, and actually, this Unit 7 project is a little different than the ones that we've done before, and I will explain that more a little bit later. All right, so in this unit, we learned so much JavaScript. We learned how to create variables. We learned about different data types, including numbers and strings. We learned how to use operators to change the value of variables. We learned about input.val and how to get that value from the input field, and using .append to add those elements to our websites, and then also how to combine strings and variables using concatenation, which is also that plus sign. All right, so now we're going to put that all together to build a character quiz. I don't know if you all have done any of these internet quizzes. I try really hard not to do them because otherwise I end up going through this hole where I do a million in a row. But we're basically going to create a which blank character are you? All right. It doesn't need to be a character, and I'll show you my example, but we want to make a which blank are you, where the user gets to answer some questions, and then they will get a result, and it will tell them which character best describes them. All right. And here's where I think you might be thinking, hold on a second. I know how to collect and store that information, but how do I return a different result based on what choices my user makes? Because if you make the same result occur all the time, I think your user is going to pick up on it really fast if they answer that they love something and they get the same answer than if they answer that they hate something. All right, so we are going to learn how to return different results based on choices in Unit 8. So this is actually a double unit project. All right, you're going to have Unit 7 and Unit 8 to work on this. We are going to focus on collecting the user input in these 2 days. And then next unit, you're going to go back to this project and you're going to make it even better. All right, so super important that you pick something that you are really excited about because you're going to spend at least 4 days on this. All right, so here is my example. All right. Let's start with the example from Unit 8. So this is what your project is going to look like at the very end, all right? So after 4 days of work with you and your partner, lots and lots of stuff. All right, so how old are you? I'm not going to tell you how old I am, and I'm going to pretend that I'm 21, all right? What do I like better, sweet or sour? I'm going to say that I like sweet better. And then it tells me what kind of cheese I am, all right? So it says, since you are 21 years old, so I know that it read my input, and you like foods that taste sweet, know that I read my input, you must be brie cheese, which is actually my favorite cheese, all right? And it says this quiz has been taken 1 time. So let's try it one more time just to double check that I'm not tricking you and that they are getting a different input. Let's say our user is now 11 and they like sour foods. And it appends, so you see it at the bottom. Since you are 11 years old and you like foods that taste sour, you must be cheddar cheese. Here's that cheddar cheese there. And it says this quiz has been taken 2 times. All right. You can also notice that I put in another extra thing, and you can do more with this in Unit 8, where if I don't answer the questions, it actually says, you are cottage cheese. Gross. You must have typed something wrong. Sorry if you like cottage cheese. I do not. All right. And it says this quiz has been taken 3 times. So it counts how many times the quiz has been taken and also appends a different answer depending on what you type. All right. That's what you're going to get at the end of Unit 8. But let's look a little bit about what we want at the end of these 2 days, okay? Because at the end of these 2 days, you can get almost all the way there. So I'm going to say go back to 21, and I'm going to say that I like sweet again. And here's what we got, all right? We still have this counter, and it still goes up every time I press, but it just says you are 21 years old and you like foods that taste sweet. All right, so notice it's basically the first half of the sentence, all right? I don't have this part yet, but I just have the first part of the sentence. So it kind of doesn't make sense yet because I'm not answering this question of which type of cheese are you, but that's okay. All right, because if I change this again to 11 and sour, it still says you're 11 years old and like foods that taste sour, and this quiz is taken 2 times. All right, that's your goal. You got 2 days to work this out. All right, that's your goal. Okay, so now that we know what our goal is, what do we need to make this? Well, we need a lot of different parts. in our HTML, we need input tags, we need button tags, we need p tags. In our JavaScript, we need a click function, we need the variables to store that information, we need .val to retrieve that information, operators to calculate your prediction, and then .append to display your prediction. All right, I don't have CSS on here, but you definitely should look into some CSS if you got some extra time. I don't know if you noticed my fancy borders around my pictures of cheese. You can pick a cool color, pick a cool font. Always good to make your project look cool. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to do this project in partners. So if you're watching this video, you may or may not be with your partner right now, but I am telling you that you should definitely talk to your partner about these things. All right, if you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what topic I want my project to be on, totally fine. All right, think about your favorite TV show, your favorite movie, your favorite musical artist, your favorite book. All right, and think about like who are the characters there. All right, and you can choose anything like that. You can also just choose something like as simple as like an object like cheese, like I did, or like colors or seasons. All right. So it doesn't need to be an actual human being if you don't want it to be. You can pick lots of different things. All right. But make sure you and your partner are both equally excited about this because you're going to work on this for 2 projects together in a row. All right. Once you figure out your topic and you get with your partner, I suggest that you do this project plan together as well. All right. Super important that you brainstorm together. But there's also some wireframing, some pseudocoding, and a rubric in here. All right. So I'm going to walk through this really quickly for you to take a look at it. And you'll see that our project objective is here. And then there's some questions for you to answer first. 100%. These really, really, really need to be answered together with you and your partner. All right, what's the question that's going to be on the top of the page? What are the 4 possible results for your user? You're not going to use these yet. All right. You're not going to use them yet for unit 7, but it's important that you have them so that when you get to unit 8, like you're not scrambling around being like, oh, I don't remember what we decided. All right. And then what are the questions you're going to ask your user? All right. 1 question should be answered with a string and 1 question should be answered with a number. All right. That's something that you'll get extra points for in your rubric. So make sure that you do that. All right. Remember, I did how old are you? And then also what kind of food you like. All right. So that's what I did. So I had 1 number and 1 string. All right. After you wireframe, after you answer the questions, you should wireframe. All right. Figure out what you want it to look like. Remember, it's helpful if you add the class names to your wireframe so you remember what you wanted to call everything, because you will have multiple inputs and you're definitely going to need some classes there. All right. Fill out this pair programming guide because you definitely want to make sure that everybody has a chance to type. All right, and you can start thinking about your pseudocode. All right, I added added some clues here on how you're going to collect user input. How are you going to display that counter? That counter you got to think about. How are you going to make that number go up every time that the button is clicked? All right, and then what's the code going to do? All right, this is super valuable for you to have because then when you get to coding, you remember what you were trying to do. All right, and then please, 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 please take a look at the rubric. All right, make sure that you create a website that is easy to read and navigate. It saves the answers. The results are going to be different based on the responses. How many times the quiz is taken is clear, and they can view their character results. Okay, so some of these things, there's 2 more Unit 8 tasks that you're not going to do this time, but like make sure you start thinking about this. All right, you're going to have the same rubric for Unit 7 and Unit 8. So my suggestion for you is to get through as many of these rubric tasks as you can during Unit 7 so that when you get to Unit 8, you have time to work through the tough part of like getting the different answers for each depending on what the user types in. Okay? All right. So after you have project planned, you're going to make sure that you start working. All right. Focus on your HTML and CSS during day 1. Switching driver and navigator every so often. All right. And day 2, you're going to head into that JavaScript. Okay. So just to clarify, all right, because I am not going to make another video for day 2. Remember that when you start, actually, let me pause here. All right. Let me pause here, give you a chance to work through day 1. Pause if you're done. Go back to this later. All right. Even if you're doing this all in one day, take a quick break. And then really quickly, some guidance for your day 2. Definitely start by going back to the rubric and the project plan. Remember what you did, all right? Remember whose turn it is to be navigator and driver. And then make sure that you just get started where you left off, all right? I've got a couple bonus challenge tasks for you if you finish early. You can add some CSS styling, right? Remember, I mentioned fonts, I mentioned the box model before and borders. Add pictures. It's really cool to be able to see the picture of the things that you are matching to, right? So even though, like in my example, right, like these pictures don't show up until later, you can keep these in for now. These pictures could be at the bottom right now, just so that you have them saved and you don't have to find them during Unit 8. You can make the photo show up, right, or hide when the user clicks submit. And you can also add another question. So if you want your project to have this like spicy level of difficulty, you can add a third input. So maybe I would ask the question, how old are you? Which do you like better, sweet or sour? And also like, what's your favorite color? And then I can figure out if they want a yellow cheese or a white cheese, all right, or a blue cheese. All right, so lots of different bonuses here, and I cannot wait to see these responses. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your program manager. Definitely ask your volunteers if you have any questions or if you're stuck on anything. And I cannot wait to see the creativity for you and your partner and for you to learn the rest of how to make this project during Unit 8 so you can make it really cool.